Hello, hi everyone. So welcome back to the implementation of the scenario that we have discussed just before in the previous session. So now if you look at here, I have a folder called data where I am storing all the source files over here. So in this particular folder, I have a folder called customer where we can see a lot of customer files here. And these files are capturing the customer information. So each file has got the file name as customer underscore timestamp here. So this timestamp depends on the time when the files are generated. So if you look at these files, right, so all these files have the same structure here. So this file has got customer number, city, country, name 1, name 2, search term 1, search term 2. So total this has got 7 columns. So similar way all the files also has got 7 columns. So remember, whenever we are trying to process multiple files, the structure of all the files should be same. Okay? And I have a folder called archive here where I have to move all the files to the archive folder. So now let's get back to the designer to create the scenario as we discussed in our previous session. So I have created a job called process files here. So let me just quickly create global variables to fulfill this scenario. So I'm just trying to create the global variables here. The first global variable name would be g underscore source path. I'll just make it as a varchar here, and let me just keep a length as some oh, 500 character 205. Let me just keep the length as 500 characters. So in the similar way, let's create one more global variable here which is used to capture the archive path. So this is going to be again varchar. So let me keep the length of this one as 500. So next variable would be g underscore file count, and this would be integer, and next variable would be g underscore file underscore format underscore name, and this would be varchar. This would be 500, and next one that we have to create is file g underscore file names. So let me just keep the length of this as high as possible because this has to capture all the file names that are present in the folder. So let me just keep the maximum of the 8000 as a length for this particular one. Okay. So we have created all the variables. Now let me just introduce the scripting here. So I'll just take the script from the tool palette. I would just call this as a initialize, and let me just initialize this one here. Let me just initialize the source path. So what would be my source path where all of my customer files are present? Okay, so let me just copy paste this source path here and just assign this value, and let me just assign the archive path also. So let's take the archive path here. Let's assign this. So we'll have to give a file format name as well. So what is the format that our files will follow here? So all the files are starting with customer underscore, right? So if you see here in the source folder, all the files are starting with a customer underscore, and all these files are typically txt files. Okay, so I would just copy paste this file name. I would just give this name as customer and customer underscore star. Star means it is a regular expression, so it means it can be anything. So what we are trying to do is to give a file format name which will ensure that which will ensure to process all the txt files whose name starts with customer underscore. Okay, so now I have to get the file count here. So how do I get the file count? So I just use a file function called wait for file. So this is a predefined function. So if you notice this function, it accepts 7 parameters: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parameters. Okay. So the first parameter would be a source path along with the format. So look at this format, guys. So just understand this how I uh, give the format here. So it should always be like this. So this format would be like this. So this is the first parameter that we have to pass. So if you look at the second and third parameter, this is a timeout and the poll interval. So I am just setting the timeout and the poll interval as a 0, 0, and maximum number of files to be matched, I am just setting it as 100. So which means that if there are a maximum of 100 files matching, it will just give you that count. If there are more than 100 files available in the folder, it will not get you those file names. It just says maximum 100 files here. So this is a fourth parameter, and the fifth parameter is the file names, and the sixth parameter is the file name list, the variable which captures all the file names over here. Okay, so let me just specify the fifth parameter here. So this would be a one which is used to capture all the file names, and this one would be a one which is used to capture all number of files present here, and I'm just giving a delimiter as a seventh parameter. Okay, so which is used to separate all the file names in the variable. So I'm just trying to validate this. So far it is not giving any error. So let me just print this one. Okay, so let's say a total number of files present, total number of files present in the folder are. So I would just print the variable over here. So file count, which is used to capture all the file names, and file names are, I'm just printing the file names here. So this is captured in the variable here. So let's validate till this point in time, and let's execute the same. Let's execute till here just to see that everything is coming as expected or not. So I'm just trying to execute this. So let's look at the monitor log. You see here it is saying 16 files are present, printing all the file names along with the path as well here. So the job has got executed successfully. So let's proceed to complete the rest of the implementation of the job here. So now I am going to use the conditional one here. So this is a conditional workflow here, which works like an if then else condition. Okay, so I would be using a variable to control the execution of this particular conditional workflow. So enter this. So I would just use the variable data flow here. So I would just say process underscore customer underscore files underscore df. So this is the data flow which is used to capture all the files here. So now let me just quickly create the file format. I would just say customer, and let me just specify the path here. So look at this, guys. So first I'll just give a hard path as a hard coded value here, then I'll just change it to the variables here, and let me just give a one file here. So this is just to get the structure, that's all. Once I get the structure, and rest of the story is like once I get the structure, I'll change it back to the variables. So here I'll have to specify the file format name. So look at this. This is a file format name. This is a comma separated file. So we'll have to specify the first record as a header. So let me just maximize this. Say first record as a header. Skip pro header here. So let me just do one thing here, guys. Let me just set this back to the path, because we haven't got actually a header information yet, right? So that is the reason. I'll just change it back to again file here. So I got the structure here. So once I get the structure, we can change this back to the global variables here. Just keep this in mind. So this has to be a path, g underscore source path, and g underscore file format name, save and close. And let me just enable one more option over here, the adaptable schema. So this ensures that there's no issue with respect to this. So I will be just using this particular file format as a source in the data flow. I'm just using the query transform here, and let's use the template table, which will capture the data from all the tables. So let me call this as a customer underscore target, and let me just map all the fields. So here this is an optional, so you can choose any fields as you wish to have. Now I'll just put a scripting here, which is used to move the files from one folder to another folder. So I would just call this scripting as archive underscore files, and let's call the function called file underscore move. So this is a built-in function that is available in BODS itself. So let me just get this function. Let me specify the source path, and then let me just give the archive path also here. Okay, so say print files have been moved to archive folder. So upon validation, it is not giving any error. So let's print a statement in the else block. No files. That is a script name that I'm specifying. Just print it as no files present in the folder. So let's validate this. Now let us try to execute this job. So it is printing the total number of files as 60. It has printed all the file names. And look at this, it has executed the data flow also. And it says that all the files have been moved to archive folder. And if you look at the total number of records that has been processed, it is saying 30,411 records. Now, if I just go back to the customer folder, I cannot see any files over here. And if I just go back to the archive folder, I see all the files have been moved to archive folder. So at the same time, if I just get back to my target here and just check the file data, so I should be able to see all the records over here. So this is how we accomplish scenario. So this is most frequently used scenario wherever you are trying to process the files. Thanks for watching thanks for watching the video. Please continue to watch the rest of the videos to understand the scenario as well.